I've spent almost 30 hours playing Starsand Island in early access, and today I'm sharing with you all my honest thoughts so you can decide if this game is for you, and most importantly, whether you should jump right in now during the early access phase or wait until its full release. I'm going to break down why I've been completely addicted to the game over this past week, as well as a few areas where they could still improve. Starsand Island has been one of my most anticipated games of the year, especially after how much I enjoyed the demo, so I was really excited to receive a key ahead of its launch, but as always, all of the opinions shared are my own. There will be more Starsand Island content coming soon, so if you want to see more, don't forget to like and also subscribe. But now let's get into everything you need to know about the game. Starsand Island's early access is launching today, which is February the 11th, with the full release expected in the summer. Upon full release, the game will be available on all major platforms, including PS5, Xbox, and the Switch. But for now, whilst the developers work on making improvements, it's available on Steam. You can currently choose between two versions, a standard edition and the deluxe. The standard version is priced at just under $28 and this includes the base game, a Chinese New Year furniture set, and a Chinese outfit. The deluxe edition is just under $42 and this includes everything in the standard version plus a classic furniture set, an elegant formal outfit, and a pumpkin carriage? Hello. I have played most of my 30 hours on PC with keyboard and mouse. I do apologize if you are a controller kind of person, I'm just not, so I can't kind of comment on whether there were any issues with the controller. I have also tried this on my Steam Deck and things did run pretty well, but I may have to tinker a bit with the graphics a bit as the bushes weren't spawning in, so I do feel that that was maybe a graphical issue as opposed to an actual issue with the game, but it is definitely playable and I was enjoying things such as doing mining on it, so it does work if you just kind of want some time away from your desktop. With the housekeeping out of the way, let's get into what Starsand Island actually is. Well, at its core, it is a farming and life simulation game. The story focuses on the main character returning to their childhood home on a peaceful island. You are given a small plot of land with a cozy little cottage, and this is yours to build, expand, and cultivate. Early on, you are given the choice of one of 5 careers, however, you are able to experience all of them if you choose during your playtime. The careers form part of your key gameplay, and they are farming, ranching, fishing, crafting, and exploration. Each career comes with their own dedicated mentor and the ability to progress. The way the quest flowed for each individual skill was quite smooth, and although the dialogue didn't necessarily grab me, the quests were well thought out and they helped me learn about other aspects of the game that maybe weren't immediately obvious, and they did gear me towards meeting other NPCs, which I do think was quite clever. The gameplay itself is pretty reminiscent of other games in the genre, but it does have some aspects that I found myself awarding the game bonus points for. For example, you are quickly thrown into crafting life and there is a whole host of recipes and machinery to experiment with. The farming, again, in the beginning seems pretty straightforward, but there are elements of the trellis and the planting boxes combined with things such as seasonal crops and weeds that can actually suffocate your crops if not tended to. Does add a nice layer and kind of mixes things up a little bit. The way your ranch animals can also perform activities is quite smart, and they're also pretty cute, so who can complain about that? One thing that does make farming sims feel a little stale at times is the repetitive gameplay, and yes, of course, you are going to find yourself repeating actions here, but there is a variety of career quests, objectives, and lots of different activities. You kind of have the freedom to decide what you want to do each day to keep things fresh. Even though it is early access, the game feels quite full, and aside from the main gameplay, you will find so many activities to fulfill your time, whether it be interacting with the plethora of NPCs, shopping, meeting pets, enjoying a ride on one of the many vehicles, decorating your home, or maybe even just playing a game in the arcade. There is honestly no denying that there will be a grind, but all of these little side quests and fun activities will break up the gameplay loop nicely. All those mechanics, an energy bar, and the requirement to be in bed by 2 a.m, you might expect the game to feel rushed or pressured by time. In reality, I found that the gameplay was surprisingly relaxing. Yes, there is a lot to do, which can be a little bit to juggle at first, but slowing down and focusing on one task really helped me a lot. Time seemed to move at a pretty fair pace, and even if you run out of stamina, it is really easy to recover through simple actions such as eating or even just sitting. Honestly, why has no one done this before? It makes so much sense to regain stamina just by enjoying a seat. All of this did make the experience feel calm and low stress. The only real thing that I did find myself time pressured by was the bulletin board quest. However, these generally are quite generally generous with the time frame that you have to kind of complete them, which is good. Another thing I found relaxing was just kind of exploring the whole world. The map is absolutely huge, and there are kind of even other areas that you can go off and explore too. Some of the areas are really nicely themed, and there is a good variety of kind of different areas, so they don't all feel the same. How you actually get around on your map was also really interesting. There are so many ways to move in the game, from roller skates to scooters, even boats, and you can even ride an ostrich if you wanted to. These not only make movement faster, but they also add a fun element too. Whilst exploring, there is also plenty of hidden things to uncover, from mysterious glowing spots, chests, and you can even shake vending machines to loot new stuff. This often meant that my endless running around wasn't in vain. The moonlit forest also provided a refreshing visual change from grey and dreary mines that you see in other games. This is where you will do the majority of your mining, and you encounter a creature or two to kill here. The mining was therapeutic, and again, there's so many things to uncover here, which I found myself loving. The resources honestly felt almost endless. The combat was also not too full on, and there was only a handful of creatures that were not too hard to defeat. It was kind of honestly a feature that maybe they could have possibly skipped on. So if you are someone who is turned off by combat in games, I really wouldn't worry about it here. I'm not mad that it exists, it just kind of felt like a bit of a side thought, or maybe it wasn't a real focus of the developers. Another huge aspect of the game is the social elements. As I mentioned, there is a huge cast of characters here, and you can increase your friendship with them through gifting and chatting with them. I'm not normally someone who focuses on this kind of gameplay. However, I did find it quite easy to move through the affection levels with the characters on the island, particularly because there is very little penalty for giving them the wrong gift, and there is also no decrease in your levels due to forgetting to speak to them one day. Although the dialogue and their stories didn't really grab me per se, the developers have clearly tried to give them distinct roles within the town. I also do enjoy the way that the pets work in the game, and this is also tied to the social gameplay, as you're required to meet them in the world and then befriend them. I kind of did slack on this more than I probably should have, because I really do want an adorable pet, but if I do want to focus on this again, I can easily track them in the menu. So that's kind of my overview of the key gameplay elements and some thoughts strewn in there. And I've already touched on some things that I have loved, but here are a few more kind of miscellaneous things. Firstly, if you are a collector, you are going to love this game. There are a lot of menus within the phone, and it's kind of all filled with apps that have main quests, side tasks, and even just things that you can collect. And the fact that there is also a steady stream of rewards is kind of highly satisfying. I do not think you will ever encounter a day where you don't have something to do. I can also see that there is a huge potential with the decorating here. I haven't delved into this too much, but the kind of steady stream of new items and furniture blueprints I seem to be unlocking, combined with the detailed building mechanics, I cannot wait to see what amazing homes people begin to create here. I won't lie that there were kind of a few times where I did get a little bit frustrated with adapting the pre-made house, so I do think that there is going to be a bit of a learning curve with this one, but it is one that I am willing to undertake. Although I said earlier the game is a grind, that's mainly because I wanted all of the resources, and I am a bit of a hoarder, and obviously you're going to need money to expand your plot. However, despite this, there are some quality of life features that the game has added to alleviate some of these feelings. Firstly, your tools do not downgrade, which makes me so happy. There is nothing more frustrating than being out on a mining expedition and then them breaking. Secondly, although they do use a chest system, which can feel a little bit cumbersome, I love that you don't even need to open the chest to store existing things you already have in that chest, and you can also access all of your chests from just one of them. You can just scroll right on through, which is great. The crafting later on also really helps make things easier by allowing you to craft your own bulletin board to accept quests, and even a shipping bin. This was a huge bonus for me, immediate money at my fingertips. So now it's time to talk about some things that could do with a little bit of work. I know I'm not one to talk to NPCs in games, and I did touch on this a little bit earlier, but the kind of story and the whole characters dialogue does feel like it is missing a little bit. This isn't something that bothered me too much, as I'm more of a gameplay kind of girl and I don't get sucked into lore, but if you do like that, then I think you will kind of feel that there is something missing as well. The main story of returning back home isn't really delved into too much, and the NPCs do feel a little bit lifeless at times, and there may be a distinct lack of personality on occasion. So maybe just be mindful of this if this kind of element is a make or break it for you. Although I do like the character customization, and I do think it's great that they have color pickers and there is so many outfits to play around with later on, there is a but coming, and this is for the way that they have done it in the very beginning of the game. It just didn't make much sense to me that you have to pick your outfit before you design your character, and it meant that I had picked out this giant lily pad hat which covered half of my face. So it was a little bit of an issue to see what kind of eye color and things I wanted on that side of my face. I also found it a little bit irritating that once you picked a color for a hair or perhaps an eye and then you went to move to something else, it then changes the color, so then you have to find that color all over again. I don't know if this was just a version issue, but it is something that I do think that they should address. You may have also noticed that I haven't really mentioned any bugs, and yes, during the version I played, I did experience some. Before I go into them, I do want to preference this by saying that the developers have been very on it with the bugs, and where there was a major issue that was encountered, this was fixed within a day or so, which I think is really positive to see. I do appreciate them being on it, but if you want kind of an idea of things I did encounter, there was some visual issues where things didn't quite render properly, and there was also some flickering, like for example here on this character. I have seen occasional text where things have not been translated properly, and I think it was Chinese, which unfortunately I cannot read. And the kind of major bugs for me were some quest bugs. On one occasion I was kind of soft locked as there was a required recipe that was not available, and on another occasion the next stage of the quest or the career did not trigger. I think the game also needs some optimization. It doesn't look like a game that should run heavily on my PC, but there were times when my fans were going a little bit crazy. But overall, for an early access version of the game, I did not encounter any crashes, or there were kind of no points where I had to force quit the game, which I thought was good. There might be other people that have had different experiences to mine, but I thought it was quite good on the whole. So with all that out of the way, do I think you should play this game in early access? If you cannot wait to play this game any longer and you have 100 hours to spin in this game, then yes, I do think you will enjoy this game in its current version. The developers have been quite clear that they are doing the early access to give them time to iron out the kinks, And yes, there are currently a few kinks here and there, but does this mean that the game isn't enjoyable right now? Absolutely not. I had so many hours of fun with this one. As long as you are kind of aware that you are going into it playing an early access game and you kind of adjust your expectations accordingly, I think you're going to be obsessed just as much as I was. If you don't think that you can deal with the occasional issue, then perhaps you should wait, but definitely don't forget about this one because the gameplay has been wonderful and I can really see that this one has a lot of potential to offer. Am I going to be keeping playing this game? Absolutely. And I think it might give Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar a serious run for its money, as that's kind of been my recent favorite farming sim that I've played. And it kind of is a little bit similar to that, but it definitely has some nuances which I've been enjoying as well. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you are going to be giving this one a try. Have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.